Lesson 7, the Legislative Branch. Our Congress is currently composed of a House and a Senate. We say that it is bicameral because it contains two houses. We are currently in the 114th term of Congress, first session. It began just on January 3rd, 2015. We divide time in Congress based on terms and sessions. Each term lasts 2 years. We break each term up into 2 sessions. Session 1, which lasts 1 year, and Session 2, which lasts 1 year. The House is made up of 435 members. Its representation is based on population. The Senate is made up of 100 members because its representation is based on equality, meaning that each of the 50 states receive 2 senators. The House is different because we base representation on population. Remember from our Constitution unit that this made the larger states happy because the larger states, population-wise, would get more representation in the House. The smaller states, remember, were happy with the equality form of representation, so they were appeased by the Senate. Now let's talk qualifications. Please follow along on your guide and fill in your chart. As we said, we went over size for House of Representatives and Senate, so let's look at term length. The House of Representatives has a shorter term length because they were supposed to be closer to the people, meaning they could be re-elected or kicked out of office sooner, so they had to be more responsive to the people's wants and needs. The senators, which have 6-year terms, do not have to be so responsive to the public. They can worry about legislation and not have to worry about re-election because their re-election time is up every 6 years rather than 2. The age requirement is different by 5 years. If you are 18 right now, in 7 short years, you meet the age requirement for the members of the House of Representatives. Senators must be 30 years. You must also reside or live in the United States for 7 years for the House and the past 9 years for the Senate. You must also, regardless of being a representative or a senator, reside in the state in which you represent. That makes sense. People who represent Kansas must live here. That is, they must live amongst the problems and issues. It would not make sense for us to elect somebody who lives in California. They would not have an understanding of what it's like to live in Kansas and the issues at hand. Membership distinction just means which house is more prestigious. There are fewer seats in the Senate, so they are harder to win. Therefore, we call this the upper house because it is consequently more prestigious, being that they also enjoy a 6-year term. The lower house is somewhat easier to get into because there are more seats available. Now, I would like you to either log on to our online textbook and define the following terms, or Google them. Now, the ones in green I have done for you, a term which lasts for 2 years, and I've actually already done a session for you. A session lasts 1 year, and there are 2 sessions in each term of Congress. You need to look up adjourns, special session, apportion, reapportion, single member district, and gerrymandering. I have already done for you at large, which is elected from the state as a whole rather than a district, constituents, the people and issues that the senators represent, continuous body. All of the seats in the Senate are never up for re-election at the same time. This is different from the House, as all the seats in the House are up for election every 2 years. Now, let's quickly look at leadership in the House and both in the Senate. You will notice that I have also added salaries. I thought you might be interested to learn how much each of these leaders in the House of Representatives makes, paid for by tax dollars. Now, understand also there are more leadership positions under Minority Leader and Minority Whip. I have just laid out here for you the bare necessities. John Boehner, who is currently the Speaker of the House, receives about $220,000. $220,000 a year, that is. The large R in parentheses after his name stands for Republican. You will notice that the Majority Leader, Kevin McCarthy, also has an R after his name. That is because the Republicans currently control the House. Then you will notice on the opposite side of the diagram, the Minority Leader, Nancy Pelosi, has a capital D in parentheses after her name. That is because the Democrats are the minority party in the House. That is because they hold fewer seats in the House. Now, in the Senate, the Republicans also hold the majority. However, the president of the Senate is the current vice president, who happens to be a Democrat. This is Joe Biden. The president pro tempore simply means president in the absence of. If Joe Biden is away doing work for the government, the president pro tempore steps into those shoes. The president of the Senate and the president pro tempore usually only cast a vote in decisions concerning legislation and such if there is a tie. You will see that Orrin Hatch is the current president pro tempore, the majority leader, again by Republicans, Mitch McConnell, and minority leader Harry Reid for the Democrats. Here's a current picture of the new Congress that will serve for the next 2 years. Remember, this group of people has to be responsive to their constituents because they will be up for re-election in just 2 short years. The gender composition of the 114th Congress is as follows. About 80% in both the House and the Senate are male, and 20%. Now, if we look at the racial composition of the 114th Congress, you will see that by and large the majority of representatives and senators are white. We have a small portion that would be black, Hispanic, or Asian. This concludes Lesson 7.